Tonight marked the second week of Survivor Winners at War, and I've actually, probably surprisingly to some people, I've been a Survivor fan since I was in 5th grade. I've watched the show on and off, and most seasons that I've missed, I've eventually caught up with. I've always loved the show, and the idea of doing a all-winners season has been kind of hyped up by fans for many years now. It's something fans have kind of asked for and clamored for a long time now. And what surprised me was, for the longest time, Jeff Probst didn't like the idea of an all-winners season. He didn't believe that there were enough good winners to fill up an entire casting roster for a season. He kind of toyed with the idea of maybe doing a season full of where there's winners on one tribe and then some challengers on another tribe. Apparently that was one of the early ideas for season 34, which eventually became Survivor Game Changers. It was going to be a tribe of winners versus a tribe of kind of a mix of favorites and returnees and whatnot. But because they couldn't get enough winners to back for that, that idea kind of fell through, and they kind of created Game Changers out of that. Um, so we're here at Survivor Winners at War. It's been the first 2 weeks. I was originally going to comment on the first episode last week, but time just kind of got away from me, and I thought that it'd be kind of premature to discuss the first episode so late into the second week. So I just thought, I'll talk about both episodes in one video. So far, it's been pretty fun. It's been pretty interesting so far. Being such a long-time fan of the show, I am kind of rooting for the old schoolers to do well. My kind of pick going in, that I hope goes all the way and that I hope wins, is Ethan. I really enjoyed his win in Africa so many years ago, and he's always been one of my favorite winners. I think that he's really cool, and just given that he's been through a lot and everything, I'm really glad that he was able to come back out and play. I thought that he was someone that I was never ever going to see again, kind of like Yule and Danny. I never thought that I'd see them ever again either, yet here they are. I hope Ethan goes all the way. It'd be really cool if someone from kind of the older seasons would win. It's been kind of a surprising couple of weeks because the big threats aren't really eating each other quite yet. I thought for sure that some of the first people voted off were going to be Boston Rob and Sandra and Parvati and Tony and Tyson. And though a majority of them are still there, it didn't surprise me last week, Amber getting voted off first. That didn't surprise me at all. But Danny and Natalie going between these last couple of weeks, that was kind of surprising. Like I said, the big threats really aren't eating each other yet. So it'll be interesting to see if Parvati and Rob and Sandra, if those guys can sneak into the merge, and see how it'll just be interesting to see how deep they get into the game. We could argue until the end of the earth, talking about who should have made the cast and who shouldn't have. I mean, it's something that happens every single time Survivor does a returnee season. Wouldn't it be great if this person came back? Wouldn't it have been great if that person came back? We could do that all day long. I know for a fact that Jeff called John Cochran and invited him, and he declined. That's something that I found out in my research. I figure Jeff is a big fan of John Cochran. I mean, they offered him a job at CBS. He wrote for the show The Millers until it was canceled after its second season some years ago. I don't know if he's writing for any other shows for CBS. I don't know if he's even still employed at CBS. But Jeff going after John Cochran was not a surprise to me. I am surprised that he declined. I don't know if he's just busy with life, and I mean, that's his business. But I am kind of surprised that I figured the superfan in him wouldn't have wanted to miss out on a group of winners going after $2 million. I don't know how many of the winners knew that the prize money was going to be $2 million going in. Probably none of them did. Maybe some of them did. I don't know. But I'm surprised John Cochran. Um, I'm surprised he declined. I mean, we could get into the whole Richard Hatch situation. I don't know how many people watching are familiar with the Richard Hatch situation, but apparently he was originally on the Winners of War cast, which is not surprising. He was the first winner of the show ever. He did get into some legal trouble, but he has officially paid his debt back to society, so he's taken care of all of that. But in season 39, there was the whole Dan Spillo not keeping his hands to himself situation, and that drew a lot of talking time at the reunion show for season 39. And given what happened between Richard Hatch and Sue Hawk in Survivor All-Stars, probably had something to do with Richard Hatch getting dropped. Because like I said, he was apparently on the original cast, and he was told, you're in for season 40, and then he was just abruptly dropped. And I do think that it was because of the Dan Spillo situation, and since it so parallels to what happened between Hatch and Sue in Survivor All-Stars, CBS wanted to avoid some bad PR. I understand it. I'm not trying to start a flame war on YouTube or anything, so I'm just going to say I understand it. I don't know if I 100% agree with it, but I understand it. Richard Hatch was the first winner of the show. He pioneered the show. He helped pioneer the show. It would have been awesome to see him again, especially in modern New Age Survivor, but unfortunately that didn't happen. I think that he's just too polarizing and too controversial, but man, I would have given anything to see him again. What I don't understand, though, is that Tina was also told that she was a sure thing for Winners at War, and she was also abruptly dropped. But she doesn't have a sketchy past, so I'm thinking, why was Tina told that she was on and then she got abruptly dropped? And I think it was probably because of Boston Rob. Now, if you've watched a lot of Survivor, you probably know this, but Jeff Probst has a pretty big man crush on Boston Rob. And Boston Rob had to be a sure thing, otherwise Winners of War wouldn't happen. I can guarantee you that. I'm sure that's why there's Edge of Extinction for this season. That's probably why there's a $2 million winning prize. I think that's why they built a big idol of Boston Rob in season 39, and he was an advisor along with Sandra. And I've also done some research and found out that Boston Rob, Amber, Parvati, and Tony, at least, got very, very big appearance fees for this season. I don't know if anybody else did, but apparently that's the word on the street. I don't even know if this is confirmed. Could be all rumors and smoke and mirrors, and I don't mean to sound like a conspiracy theorist when I tell you all of this, but apparently Tina was on the original cast for Winners of War. She was abruptly dropped, and the woman that replaced her was Amber. And I'm sure Boston Rob's wife, Amber, was part of the reason that Boston Rob is on this season. And I'm not saying that it's right. I mean, Tina's awesome. I love Tina. I would have preferred to have seen Tina over Amber because I mean no disrespect when I say this, but Amber is kind of a blink. I mean, she wasn't interesting in Australia. She only made it onto All Stars because all of the other more interesting women that CBS went after either declined or couldn't do it at the time. Um, you got to think back to the first 7 seasons of Survivor. Um, and when they did All Stars, obviously they went after, um, what's her name? Shoot. Obviously, Elizabeth Hasselbeck. They went after Elizabeth Hasselbeck. She declined. They went after Colleen Haskell from season 1. She declined. They went after Vesepia, the winner of season 4. She was pregnant at the time, so she didn't go. They went after Heidi Strobel from season 5. She declined. Sandra was actually recovering from parasites, so that's why she wasn't on All Stars. So there were a bunch of really big name women that declined being on Survivor All Stars, which kind of explains why Amber was on there. I can't, if any of those women that I listed off were available for All Stars, I don't think Amber would have been on. I really don't, because she's really kind of an uninteresting person. And again, I mean no disrespect, she's just, I have to guess that the only reason why she was on Winners of War is because Boston Rob wanted her to be on. So some incentives were given for him to appear because it was really important that Boston Rob was on, because whether you like it or not, he's one of the faces of Survivor. The Fire tokens are interesting. It'll be interesting to see how they'll play out. I'm glad that it's not just really easy to obtain them. I think it's interesting that people pay tribute to others after they're voted off, and that when someone gets voted off and they go to Edge of Extinction, they find awards and they sell them to people for more fire tokens. I think that that's interesting. I think that it's way better than just piling on advantages and idols everywhere, because if I have a complaint about Modern Survivor, especially the last few seasons, the last couple of years, I think that they're getting a little bit too carried away with the advantages and the idols, and it's kind of driving me nuts. So I think it's a little bit interesting that there's more kind of a currency base to it, and it'll be interesting to see how that maps out with the rest of the season. I wasn't too crazy about Edge of Extinction coming back on this season, simply because, look, a couple of years ago, it was an interesting twist, but I think it was managed poorly, and I think that's why Chris Underwood was such a kind of poorly received winner. I didn't have a problem with Chris. I just thought that Edge of Extinction could have been handled better. So it'll be interesting to see if CBS does anything different this year with the all winners in Edge of Extinction. It's already kind of more interesting now because they're finding advantages and they're selling them back to other people. So that'll be interesting to see what happens going forward. I have to say, I am blown away that Boston Rob still has it. Last week, he was really good in challenges for being one of the older guys out there. And Ben and Danny were going after him, and he got Ben, a Marine. A Marine. He got a Marine to crack. I mean, he really is the Godfather. They call him that for a reason. He is the Rob Father. He runs Survivor like a mob boss, and it is just wild to watch sometimes. I think this week with Amber since she got voted out last week, I think that kind of affected him in the challenge today, and I think that's why his tribe lost. But again, he was able to just kind of get the heat off of him, and he's still in the game. So going to be interesting to see how well he does. I kind of thought that his win in Redemption Island was a little bit rigged. But who knows? I mean, these are a bunch of winners, and they know how dangerous he is, so maybe he is just intimidating. Maybe he is just good with people. I don't know. I guess he is who he is for a reason. So, like I said, it's been an interesting couple of weeks. Um, I don't think I understand why Danny gave her fire token to Denise, because I've never seen them talk to each other. So that was interesting. And I also don't understand why last week Natalie gave her immunity idol to Sandra. I don't know if she's just trying to stir the pot on the Red Tribe, but that'll be interesting to see how that turns out. So overall, it was an interesting couple of weeks. I'm going to try to make one of these weekly after each episode. We'll kind of talk about how things are progressing. But after these first couple of weeks, it's been interesting so far. So hopefully it'll remain that way the rest of the season. Hopefully we get a great season out of this.